Hello and welcome to this information session. My name is Norma Moller and I'm one of 5 psychologists that provides the career advice service at the Center for Student Recruitment, and we are part of the support services at the university. In this session, I'm intending to inform you about our services, and I plan to invite you and encourage you to make use of them. We will be doing the following. I'd like to start by explaining to you how important career development is within the context of the fourth industrial revolution. In doing so, I'm sure we'll be answering the question as to why you actually need our services. And I'd also like to look at exactly what it is we can do for you in practical terms. So if you are listening to or watching this session, then you are quite likely a prospective student, and you plan to select a program from which to start your career development. And we obviously, as the Career Advice Service, are very keen to facilitate you in making the best possible fit for you in terms of who you are and what that program is. At the outset, I'd like to introduce a way of thinking to you that I think is very important. I'd encourage you to start considering whatever the first program is that you do study as a launching place for your career. And that implies that it is a starting point for a journey that is diverse and dynamic and that involves a lot of different things in a career lifetime, as opposed to a starting point that defines a rigid and static, one direction predictable journey, as that becomes very outdated within the context of 4IR. And as we go along, I'd like to sell to you the idea of becoming the CEO of your own future. So if you can hold that thought, it will help you to understand the context that we are now going to be looking at. So fourth industrial revolution, if you do your own research, you can go and look at the previous 3 industrial revolutions, and we can conceptualize the current 4IR context as one in which there are increasingly vague boundaries. In fact, there's a lot of merging of boundaries between digital, physical, and biological entities and contexts. And within this fourth industrial revolution context, we start looking at various emerging technologies. If you look at this list, I'm sure you will be quite familiar with many of the technologies that you see here, and I can guarantee that during your career lifetime, these are going to become very real and you will get to know them very well, and probably many new technologies that are going to become imminent and that are still going to come to the fore. So these are things that are realities in the context in which we'd like to assist you to develop and plan your career. And another context or concept that's very important in this respect is the idea of a gig economy. So a gig is going to be seen and is a job for a specific period of time. That means that you are likely to work as a freelancer, a contractor, a project-based worker, a part-timer of some form. And again, it relates back to what I said already. We no longer are conceiving of the idea of going into employment with security via a fixed salary and benefits like a 13th check and a pension. That is outdated. And if we conceive of or want to follow that, we limit ourselves. So my encouragement to you is to start shaking off old ways of thinking and start embracing these new realities. And as I've already said, it becomes very important to do a lot of research and be up to date in terms of what success factors are in your career development process within 4IR context. So having said that, I think it's quite likely that a lot of us are afraid quite often when change is imminent or when we have to think in a new way, because anything that's different, where there is change, implies that there's uncertainty, and uncertainty can also imply sometimes that we do feel afraid. So I'd like to suggest to you that there is nothing to fear as long as you're able to make the following paradigm shift. And what I'd like to share with you now is actually, this underpins what the work we do at the Career Advice Services. So the first thing that is a very, very important critical factor to success in your career is talent. And if you read about 4IR success, it remains talent is important. So you need people who can help you in a process whereby you can facilitate and find out what your talents are so that you can nurture and hone and develop them. Our focus is also on nurturing fourth industrial revolution skills. I'll show you a list of those in a moment, and encouraging you to be able to select a tertiary training program in a context and at a facility where these skills are actually facilitated and the development at least is facilitated. And then coming back to the idea that we want to encourage you to be the CEO of your own life and career. Think of yourself as being a brand manager of your own brand and start conceiving of that idea of how you market yourself and how you manage yourself and how you make a success of yourself as a business, because those are useful ways of conceptualizing what success is going to come from, the types of things you need to do that are going to help you to be successful. And coming back to those skills I've referred to, what becomes increasingly important, probably at least as important, if not in some cases more important than exactly the course you select to do, is the following, or the following: complex problem solving, critical thinking, cognitive flexibility, creativity, managing people and cooperating with others, emotional intelligence, sound judgment, effective decision making, the ability to be service orientated and to negotiate. And then coming back to exactly what we are doing at the Centre for Student Recruitment and Career Advice, we are all about linking what you know about yourself with what you might know or need to learn about careers. And we do that within the context of what 4IR demands of us all. Therefore, then that background on 4IR is very important and relevant to the work we do. So we're going to encourage you to look at knowing yourself. And here it's about a journey where you discover your own abilities, those talents I've referred to, where you look at knowing your own interests, understanding personality factors and how they limit and promote you. Similarly, understanding your values and looking at what your personal opportunities are, because often there are things in our immediate environment or unique opportunities that you may have or I may have that we need to make use of because they open doors. And then also understanding experience to date, because a lot of learning and a lot of development in what you do with your life comes from what you've already experienced. It has meaning. Then we need to link all of that to the world of careers. And here our intention is to facilitate your increasing understanding of career directions, various institutions, but not only literally institutions in a traditional way. We want to encourage you to think, if I could say, out of the box in terms of training, and that it no longer needs to imply only a traditional training in a three-year university or diploma course at a technology university. There are very many ways to put together a career story, even the training part of that story. So information about courses and the diversity of opportunities in this day and age, we want to provide that, as well as, and also allow you to be familiar with entrance requirements of various courses so that you can be prepared in that respect too. In practical terms, then, we would like to offer you the following. In fact, this is what we do. We do career development assessments with grade 11s and 12s and first year level prospective students. That means up until the age of 21. We also focus on subject choice and do formal subject choice assessment for grade 9 learners, as your career development depends a lot on the subject selections you make already at that level. And then we often provide opportunities to do discussion or advice sessions, which are almost a bit like a coaching opportunity, should that be your need. We are also from time to time involved in workshops and presentations that we do and compile on request. So I'd also encourage you that if there's anything that you would think, even outside of this little list, that you need support with that relates to career advice and career development, that you contact us, because we are on an ongoing basis developing and growing our offering, and we're keen to meet whatever the needs are out there. Very important at this stage to tell you as well that we are working online as well as physically on site as such. And our online assessments are exactly the same process, entail the same process and outcome to an office appointment. And this has been made possible via the reality of the instruments that we use being available online. So we often use MS Teams as a forum for our online appointments. And that will be something that will be continuing and probably developing, and it has actually made our service accessible to a very a wider community, given that anywhere in the world you can connect with us and use our services if you do so online. Our fees for assessments, we are able to offer our assessments for a fee of 2,250 Rand, and we do also work on Saturdays, or if that is your need, we can offer an assessment on a Saturday for practical reasons, and there you can see for 2,900 Rand. Why would you choose us? I'd like to say a little bit about our team. As I said at the outset, we're a team of 5 psychologists. We offer a diverse amount of experience. We come from different backgrounds. We have various years of experience in different contexts. And so all of us are actually contractors or work on a part-time basis for the university, which means that we also are involved in private practices. A lot of our private practice work is therapeutic as well. And I think this brings an amount of relevance to our work, because we not only enmeshed in an academic context, we also have a lot of experience and bring our practice experience to the work that we do. We're also relevant because we are based in an academic context in Stellenbosch University, where we have access to a network of information and other service providers and information that can be very useful to our clients. So we consider that to be a huge advantage for prospective students. And then I would say we are affordable. If you go and do your research, I'm sure that you'll see that that is the case. So if you have any questions and would like to know any more about what I've just said, or if you want to make an appointment, I'd encourage you to use this number or our email address to do so. And in closing, I'd like to share a quote with you. I read what Steve Jobs said: "Have the courage to follow your heart and intuition. They somehow know what you truly want to become." And I'd like to go as far as saying that that is exactly where our heart is in helping you to do exactly that. That's what our intent is as career advice and in the service that we provide to you. I'd like to thank you very much for your time and wish you well, and in particular, may it be an opportunity for you, this whole open day and the online opportunity for those of you who will be first years in 2022. Thank you.